Hi, this is Gabe from FluentForever.com. In these 3 videos, I'm going to show you the bare essentials of phonetics and spelling for European Portuguese. If you're using one of my pronunciation trainers, don't worry about memorizing this stuff. The trainer will do that for you. Just watch and pay attention. Everything you see here will show up sooner or later within the trainer. I'll be going through Portuguese using the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA. This lets us simplify our discussion a lot, since I only need to talk about 35 or so symbols, many of which you know already, instead of trying to wade through around 130 spelling rules. So, let's get started. We'll break this up into 3 parts. The first will cover the Portuguese consonants, the second will cover the vowels, and the third will cover a few of Portuguese's spelling rules. Portuguese has 21 consonants, and if you speak English, 13 of these are relatively familiar sounds and familiar symbols. 3 are relatively familiar sounds with unfamiliar symbols, and 4 more are really new. And since I don't speak Portuguese, let me pass this off to our native speaker.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'll be helping with pronunciation for the rest of these videos.
Let's start with 9 really straightforward sounds and symbols.
There's B as in bola, F as in fogo, G as in gato, M as in mesa, N as in navio, S as in seta, V as in vaca, and Z as in zebra.
We have a couple more familiar sounds, this time with unfamiliar IPA symbols.
First we have sh as in chave, or English's shave.
In IPA, the sh sound is indicated with a big curvy S. Then comes this symbol,
which is j as in janela, or English's beige.
Next, there are 5 consonants in Portuguese that are slightly different from their English counterparts. We'll start with Portuguese's d and t.
There's d as in dedo and t as in tomate. If you're comparing the d's in English and Portuguese, you can say demi, Portuguese, and demi, English. Demi, Portuguese, demi, English.
If you pay close attention, you'll notice that in the English word, the very tip of your tongue hits your alveolar ridge, that ridge right behind your front upper teeth. D. But in Portuguese, the tip of your tongue flattens out a bit, so that the tip of your tongue actually touches your upper teeth, and the blade of your tongue, that part right behind the tip, that touches your alveolar ridge.
This gives you a less percussive sound. You get demi instead of demi. Demi, demi.
This is exactly the same for Portuguese's T.
Instead of two, you get tu. And that puff of air you get when you say t, t, two, is also gone. T, t, tu.
So, let's move on to 2 more consonants that also don't have big puffs of air in Portuguese.
There's p as in pena and k as in coração.
For both of these consonants, the difference between English and Portuguese is all about that puff of air.
In English there's p, and in Portuguese p. P, p. Same with k. In English we have k as in key, and in Portuguese k as in mique. Comparing them directly, English as me key, Portuguese me k. Me key, me k.
The last of the slightly modified consonants is Portuguese's L, and there are 2 variations to this sound.
The first is L, as in livro.
It has a familiar symbol in IPA, a lowercase l, but it sounds a bit different from the L in English. In English, when we say a name like Lee, the back and front of your tongue both come up towards the roof of your mouth. Lee. But for this first sound in Portuguese, only the tip of your tongue comes up, and it reaches just behind your front upper teeth.
Li. English as li. Portuguese li. The other L in Portuguese is L, as in sol.
This one only occurs at the ends of syllables, and has roughly the same tongue position as the English consonant, just with a little less height in the back and a lot shorter than the L we use in English. You'll only hear it for an instant.
So Portuguese as sol, and English as sol. Sol, sol.
Next, we're going to cover 4 new symbols with relatively new sounds. The first of these is known as the tapped R, and it shows up in IPA as a kind of rounded off, lowercase r.
It sounds like r, as in morango.
For this consonant, your tongue goes right up against your alveolar ridge where you make that D sound, d, and just touches there for an instant before allowing the air to move just over the tip of your tongue. I'd say the biggest difference between a D and a tapped R is that after a D is over, your tongue is going to be flat in your mouth. But after a tapped R is over, the tip of your tongue is still going to be raised slightly. That gives it a bit of the R flavor.
R, morango.
The best trick I've heard for producing this consonant is to think the phrase Prince of Prussia while you're saying Prince of Prussia. You're replacing those R's with D's. And then you kind of play around until your tongue starts to cooperate. Prince of Prussia, Prince of Prussia, Prince of Prussia. It should come pretty quickly in that particular context. In Portuguese, this sound only exists when the letter R is preceded by a consonant and then followed by a vowel, as in Prince of Prussia, or between two vowels,
as in morango.
Any other time you see an R in a word, it will be pronounced as a uvular R. The uvular R shows up in IPA as a kind of upside-down uppercase R.
And it sounds like r, as in rato.
It's produced using the back of your tongue, which pulls back all the way behind where you pronounce the consonant G.
Ga, 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 ra, ra, ra.
When all goes well when producing this consonant, your uvula, that thing that hangs down at the back of your throat, will vibrate against your tongue. As always, the more familiar your ear gets with this sound, the easier it'll be to produce, but that doesn't necessarily make it easy. This consonant really tripped me up when I first learned it. I basically went around gargling for a whole summer before it really started working well.
Our next new consonant is ny, as in unha.
It's written like a combination of a lowercase n and j. Say the English words you and yawn. When you say that y sound, the middle of your tongue raises up towards the roof of your mouth. Y. For this ny consonant, it's the same motion, but the middle of your tongue doesn't just move towards the roof of your mouth, it actually touches it, stopping the airflow and forcing the air to come out of your nose. Ny, ny. You get that quick y sound at the end as soon as your tongue moves on to pronounce the next vowel.
Ny, unha.
In Portuguese, it's spelled N-H.
Last but not least, we have lhe, as in alho.
This basically is in the exact same position as ny. Your tongue is raised in the middle, touching your hard palate. The only difference is that in this case, instead of sealing off the flow of air completely and forcing it to flow out of your nose, the sides of your tongue come down and allow air to flow in the gap between your tongue and your upper teeth on both sides of your tongue. This produces a sound that's like a combination between an L and a Y.
Lhe, alho.
And those are all the consonants of Portuguese. To review, we had 8 consonants with familiar sounds and IPA symbols.
There was B, as in bola, F, as in fogo, G, as in gato, M, as in mesa, N, as in navio, S, as in seta, V, as in vaca, and Z, as in zebra.
Then we had a couple of familiar sounds with new symbols.
Sh, as in chave, and J, as in janela.
Then we covered 5 or 6 consonants that are slightly different between Portuguese and English.
There was D, as in dedo,
It's a D articulated with the tip of your tongue against your front teeth,
and T, as in tomate.
articulated in the exact same spot without any big puff of air like we have in English.
There was P, as in pena, and K, as in coração.
Also without big puffs of air.
L, as in livro,
An L pronounced with only the front of your tongue,
and then L, as in sol.
which involved a slight raise in the back of your tongue and a pretty short duration.
Sol.
Finally, we went over 4 totally new consonants. The tapped R,
R, as in morango.
the uvular R,
R, as in rato. Ny, as in unha.
an N made using the middle of your tongue against the roof of your mouth,
And lhe, as in alho.
an L made in that exact same spot, this time letting the air flow over the sides of your tongue. And that's it for Portuguese's consonants. Next up, the vowels.